There is no objective definition or description of the ideal tuba sound. After all, such a finite explanation would do little more to our art than to stifle it, preventing future iterations from ever developing. There are, however, pillars or qualities that aptly represent what a desirable and characteristic tuba sound is in today's performance job markets. These sound characteristics are not the law or the only way to perform on the tuba, but have historically proven true across various disciplines and musical styles. In my mind's ear, I hear the ideal tuba sound as rich, warm, and clear. When performing as a soloist, the ideal sound is easily distinguishable from the ensemble by its palpable forward energy and smoothness. On the other end, in a traditional band or orchestra setting, the tuba sound should be supportive and expansive, meaning full of overtones, both highs and lows. A friend once described the ideal tuba sound as one with a strong gravity, pulling in all surrounding voices with an inviting but unavoidable embrace. The ideal tuba sound should be balanced within itself and able to conform to ever-changing performance and stylistic needs. A balanced sound contains a mixture of core, or the fundamental identity of the note, warmth, which can be described as an inviting lightness to the tone that softens the weight of the core, and brilliance, or the shimmer and energy of the tone. Though ever-changing, the mixture of core, warmth, and brilliance must always remain in balance. Too much core may cause the sound to lack distinguishable characteristics. Too much warmth may cause the sound to be airy, fluffy, or dull, whereas too much brilliance may lessen that gravitational or grounding attribute that comprises so much of the tuba's sound signature and prove challenging for colleagues to blend with, especially in chamber or ensemble settings. Developing an ideal sound that is both unmistakably yours and true to expectations is a fun and exciting lifelong journey. In the same way that a toddler will intuitively adopt the mannerisms and linguistic accent of their parents' spoken tongue, so will we by the sounds we expose ourselves to as we scroll through the endless available posts online. As you search to find your voice, protect your musical sensitivities, actively seek the highest musical examples possible, and strive to emulate the art form and not the momentary trends. As a way to broaden this discussion and introduce different thoughts, I asked fellow tubists and friends David Zerkel and Aaron Tindall to share their thoughts on the ideal tuba sound. Thank you.
For me, the ideal characteristic tuba sound is one that is resonant. Resonance to me means an abundance of vibration. So we're really creating a sound that is spinning and very active as we're playing. I think the ideal sound for me would also be warm. I think the ideal sound for me would also be full. I always tell students that if somebody says you play with a big sound, that is a compliment 100% of the time, as opposed to if somebody says you play really loud, that may not be a compliment. So it has to be flexible enough to portray different ideas and different notions in music. And above all else, it needs to be beautiful. So those are some thoughts about an ideal characteristic tuba sound.
The ideal tuba sound to me has three elements. It is clear, it is open, and it is resonant. The clarity comes from the pitch input from your buzz. The openness comes from the air mixture that is added to that buzz via how much volume of air we're getting into the instrument along with that vibration. And the resonance comes from the first two elements working in tandem with the length of tubing that is optimal for the tuba to vibrate at its highest frequency. I tend not to worry too much when students say, well, I want to have a dark sound or a bright sound. Those factors come based on how a person is set up, perhaps how thick or thin their lips might be, and the equipment that they choose to play on, and a myriad of other things that go along with some high-level training. We can adjust those things. To give another analogy, I would say you could think of an egg yolk and an egg white. Egg yolk would be the core, the clarity of your sound. The egg white would be the openness. and the border of that egg would be the resonance. That would be a great way to symbolize all of that. Hope that this helps.